Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our last Bluebeam review webinar of our July series. Don't worry, we will have more, but this is the last one in July called Tuesdays with DDS CAD. We all hope at Digital Drafting Systems that you are all well, safe, and keeping busy during these hard times. Hopefully, we will start getting better soon. Before we get into the presentation, I just want to go through some logistics like usual. You know the deal. All the lines are going to be muted so that we can hear the presenter. Please send us your questions via the chat box or the questions box. We will be answering them as we go or at the end. The webcast will be recorded for your future viewing, so you don't need to waste time taking notes. You just pay attention and ask questions. As always, Bluebeam review training is available. We have been saying that this is the time to take advantage of training while you are a little slow. Contact us for information if you are interested, and you can always contact us at the information on the screen, or contact the people that you're used to work with. All right, without any more delay, it's my pleasure to present our AC Technical Specialist and Bluebeam Certified Instructor, Ari Redman. Ari, take it away.
Thank you, Raquel. Hello, everybody. I'm Ari. I'm a Bluebeam Certified Instructor. Today, we're going to be going over signing, sealing, and certifying, along with managing our digital IDs with Bluebeam Review. We'll also look at stamps a little bit near the end, and I'll show you guys how you can make sure that all of your documents are going to be accepted by any municipality with any strict requirements when it comes to certification. So let's look at our webinar overview. We'll start off by looking at signatures, and we'll look at form mode very quickly. I've gone over form mode in a previous webinar, but I'll show you guys what it is. It's available with Review Extreme, so if you're interested in modifying forms, you can do that with Review Extreme. We'll also look at stamps and seals. We'll look at signing and certifying, of course, along with the permissions and how we can validate our signatures properly. And then we'll look at digital ID certificates and how they come into play and how we can export and import them, along with making sure that all of our trusted identities are all set. So without further ado, let me turn off my webcam so that you guys can see the screen fully, and let's get into it. All right, so I'm in review right now. I have a PDF that you guys have probably seen before in previous webinars and in our blog. And this PDF has a signature on the bottom left. I also happen to have a stamp here. You guys can actually see that the stamp has a date on it. It actually takes whatever date the stamp was placed. So this is the last time that I updated this stamp. So just to show you quickly, if I go and I delete this stamp and I make a new one, I go to the tools drop down and stamp for this, I can find that stamp. I've actually made a modification of the default seal, and I've called it seal_AR. So let's use that one. And now there's two ways I can place this on the screen. I can place it at its default size just by clicking once, or I could have clicked and held my mouse and dragged like this. And I can continue to place multiple stamps over and over again if I wanted to by using the Reuse Markups Tools button right down here. Just in case, the way I have this button available to me is I went to the Tools dropdown, Toolbars, and I turned on my status bar. So make sure you do that. I'm also going to turn on my form tools so that they appear right here on the upper portion of my bar. So let's get rid of the duplicate stamp. But as you can see, the stamp took today's date that Windows provided, and it made sure that it was accurate. So you can make your stamps use things like automatic dates and things like that. So that's basically how they work. So we have a signature down here. You also might notice that I have this really cool icon right here, this certificate icon. We'll get into why this is so important and how to place it on your PDF in a second. But firstly, let's just look at how we sign our documents. So to make a signature field, all you need to do is you can go to the Tools dropdown, Signature, and you can click on Sign Document. Now, you can make your signature field immediately after. You can see that my cursor has changed. You also might notice that my signature field down here got a little bit darker blue. This means that I've activated what I like to call form mode. So now that I've done that, instead of just clicking on my signature field and signing like I would right now, instead, if I activate form mode, so Tools, Signature, and Sign Document, now I can actually modify this signature field. I can click on it. It now has grips. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. I can click and hold and move it around anywhere I want. So that's basically what happens when you go into form mode. Another way to access signatures is going to the signature panel on the left side right here. Looks like a little pen icon, an old school ink pen. And you can see that we have lots of different tools. We can sign our documents here. We can add a signature field without signing. So if you want to add multiple signature fields, that's not a problem. You can just use the second tool. We also have our certify document and validate signatures button right here. We'll be using them very shortly. So without further ado, I'm going to press escape a couple of times to exit out of form mode or signature mode, whatever you'd like to call it. And now I can click on my signature field since I've already placed it. Now I've done this before, but let's pretend that you're doing this for the first time. So I'm going to click on new. That means I'm making a new digital ID file. You can browse for an existing one if you have any third-party digital ID software, such as IdenTrust, for example. You can make your own with Bluebeam, so I can click on Create Digital ID, or I can create a digital ID in the Windows Certificate Store, which, depending on what requirements your municipality needs, you might need to do this. But we're just going to make a digital ID through Bluebeam itself. So all you need to do is put in your name and email address for your digital ID. You don't need an organizational unit or name, but if you want to represent your organization, that you can definitely input information here. The more the merrier, as they say. And of course, you can choose all kinds of information about what country you're from, how you're going to be using it, etc., etc. I like to include both digital signatures and data encryption. That way, you can certify and sign your files. So make sure that's checked if you want to be able to do both. And you can change your key algorithm. If you need to change it to 2048, no problemo, you got it. Then make sure that you have a password and you confirm the password for your digital ID. You're going to be the only person who knows this. That way it's secure and nobody can forge your signature, so to speak. So I've already made my digital ID. Here it is right here. I could actually view my ID, but in order to do that, I need to type in my password. So I don't want to show you guys any proprietary information, so I'm not going to do that. But I will sign in right now so I can show you how it works. So let me input my password. I hope I know my password. Let's see if I remember it on the first try. I did it. Oh, I'm so good. All right, so under signature type, we have two different options. We have the ability to just make a digital signature. And if you notice, if I choose that, I can't really change any of these permitted changes after certifying. It's grayed out. I can't click on it. So that's basically what a digital signature is. It's just a signature, doesn't have any certification, doesn't have any security permissions. So it's kind of just a physical representation of you signing a sheet. And that's it, really. But in this case, I want to show you guys document certification. What I'm going to do is, because I'm signing and certifying at the same time, I'm going to have a signature that has the power of document certification behind it. So under permitted changes, now I can choose how I want people to modify my document afterwards. If I want my document to be 100% secure and allow no changes, I can say no changes allowed. If I want people to fill in forms and other digital signatures, by the way, you can actually place multiple digital signatures and allow other people to sign your document after you, then no problem, you can do that. And if you want people to make markups after the fact, and these markups will not invalidate your signature, no problem, you can also include markups. In this case, let's just do no changes for this time, and then we'll do fill in forms and digital signatures for the next one. So you can also give a reason for signing. This is just more information that can be placed next to your signature. You have a multitude of reasons that you can choose from this dropdown, or you can type in your own. But right now I don't have a reason, so we're going to leave it at that. You can give it a location, contact info. Actually, let's say that I'm the author of this document. Why not? So I'm the author. You can actually see that the reason has populated itself down here under the appearance. You can actually turn that on and off. So I'll show you guys how to modify that right now. Before we do that, under appearance, we can choose between different standard appearances. So right now, I've just modified the standard one. You can make a brand new one, so you don't have to worry about changing your settings every time. You can just choose between different kinds of signatures and different kinds of appearances whenever you need to modify it for certain purposes. Let's just modify the one I have now by clicking on Edit. All right, so now I can choose how my signature is going to look. If I want a graphic, that's great, but if I don't want one, I can get rid of my name altogether and basically just keep all the pertinent information down here if I wanted to. I can include the name, which will just show my name in big bold letters, or I can use a picture instead. So a lot of people ask me, how do I seal my documents properly? Because a stamp isn't really a seal. A stamp is a physical image, but it doesn't have any certification power behind it. So if I wanted to, I could actually include the seal of somebody else, or of myself, excuse me. I said somebody else because this happens to be a seal of one of our clients. Don't look at it too much, guys. It's got proprietary info. Just kidding. But yes, you can include any image you want. You can click on the three dots right here, and you can look for any image that you want. And so basically, that's how you can use the file and allow an image to replace your name. I'm just going to use my name for now. I think the position on the left is quite nice. I could change it to right or background if I wanted to. Then under text, I can choose between all these criteria if I wanted to. I can include reason if I wanted to, contact info, all the stuff that you saw earlier, even a distinguished name if I have one. But in this case, I think a name and a date will suffice. I can also choose the alignment of this. So as I change it, you can see that this information right here is changing, but the name itself has its own position. So I can basically keep that in any way that I want. Let's align everything to the left. I think that looks pretty good. And these labels are quite interesting. If I turn them off, then that means that instead of saying the name and date with colon or digitally signed by, that goes away and you'll just see my name twice and the date after it. So if I wanted to, I could actually get rid of name right here and just have name and date. That's a really simple way of signing. But I actually like the labels, so just in case, I'm going to do both because I like to have the big name and then digitally sign by my actual name just in case if they're different. Then you can modify your font size. By default, it's set to auto, and we can choose between all these different font sizes. Logo is quite interesting. I've turned it off. If I turn it on, then the Bluebeam logo will be in the background. If I don't want to have the Bluebeam logo, I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to do that right now. I'm not really signing for Bluebeam, I'm signing for myself. And now I can click OK. And basically, my signature is ready to rumble. It's looking good in the preview area right here. So when I'm ready, I can click OK. Now I'm going to save a brand new file. So a lot of people make this mistake sometimes. You never want to save your original file. You don't want to overwrite your original file by leaving the name as the same. And if you save it in the same folder, you will lose all the work you did. You'll never be able to modify the file. The file will be stuck. And that's it. You'll lose a ton of work if you ever have to modify it. So I always like to put underscore signed at the end. Now, I've already done this before, so I'm going to do another underscore and say test, because I don't want to overwrite this one that I've done. So we're just going to click on save. Now, a new file is open. You can see that it's replaced the old file. And my signature is right here. I don't have access to any markup tools. I'm not able to make any crazy changes. I can't import images. It's all locked out, and the signature is good. Now, if we look in the signatures panel on the left side, we can see that there's some odd things going on. It automatically says that my certification is invalid. Document altered. How could that be? You guys were here. You're my witnesses. I didn't make any changes. Now, the nice thing is under signatures, it looks like everything worked and it says document certified. I wonder what's going on. Well, what happens is when you first make a signature, you basically have not validated it yet. And when you don't validate it, sometimes you'll get this error where it says the certification is invalid. Don't worry, it's not invalid. All you have to do is click on this button right here, validate signatures. And now it's now updated my document. It made sure to find my digital ID certificate, basically the ID that I used to sign in with my password. And now it says document certified. Everything's looking great. I've done it. Now you can also find that validate signatures button under tools, signature, and validate signatures is right here. So we've successfully signed this file. Now let me show you some more ways to sign, and then we'll get into the document certification very soon. Let's open my original file. I'm going to close out of the signed one that I just signed. And let's do it one more time, but this time I want to make another signature field. So I'm going to go to the signatures panel. I'm going to add a signature field. Let's put it on the right side this time. Actually, you know what I can do? I think I can click on this one, right click and copy. And then I can paste it because I like the size and I want it to be uniform. Now I can just move it and I can actually align it so that it aligns with the signature field. Let's see, it looks like the stamp is trying to pick it up. That's because I have snap to markup turned on. So let's turn that off. And now I think I should be able to align it pretty well. No, it doesn't want to align. That's okay. It doesn't need to be aligned. So we have our field right there. Everything's ready. I pressed escape a couple of times. Now I can actually click into it instead of modifying it. So I have two signature fields. How this works is the first one is going to be certified and we're going to allow other people to sign. Let's do that really quickly. So I need to log in again because I've reopened my file. You can see how secure it is when it comes to these signatures. And document certification is great. I'm going to allow people to fill in forms and digital signatures, no problem. They still can't change anything on the document, but at least they can sign it if they need to. So everything else is ready. It kept all my appearance settings. We're just going to click OK. We're going to do another save. This is going to be called multiple. We're going to click save on that. And now you can see that my first signature is there. Let's validate it. Beautiful. Everything's looking good so far. Now let's say that I was going to give this document to somebody else and I wanted them to read over it and then sign it to confirm that they have looked over the changes and that they've seen everything and that they agree to all the things they see on the document. So we're going to click on this signature field. It's now asking me to sign one more time. I could choose another digital ID. I can sign it again with my own digital ID, but you'll notice something quite interesting. Document certification is not allowed to be used. You can only sign after somebody else signs and certifies. So one person can sign and certify, and then everybody else can sign afterwards. By the way, you're not limited to 2. You can have as many signature fields as you want and as many people as you want to sign a document. I'm just going to show 2 for this. So everything seems to be ready to go. I'm going to click on OK. And let's rename this to something else. Multiple_signed. Beautiful. Let's click on Save. And there it is. Now, this signature here is just digitally signed. And this one is signed and certified as well. Let's make sure that we validate it. Beautiful. And now we can look in our signatures panel and we can see both of my signatures. One signature includes document certification. So you can see the icon for document certification. Looks like a little piece of paper with a little blue award. And the signature one just has a nice little green award right there. So well done, we've done it. So that's how you can sign a document multiple times. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything in particular. Let's look at our digital ID certificate. I think that's a great opportunity. It's really something special. It's going to help you guys to send these files to people without any problems. Now, everything seems to be working perfectly on my end. My document certification is being picked up. Validate Signatures is fixing everything and making sure that it's all up to date. But other people will receive your files and they're going to get an error. Let me show you what that error looks like. We're going to close out of this and I'm going to open a floor plan that was signed by my colleague, Alan. You guys might know him. So let's open the signatures panel. Why not? Panel. And look at that. Signer's identity is unknown. Is this a bug? Let's click on Validate Signatures and make sure. No, it's not. I've clicked on it a couple times now just to make sure. It says the signer's identity is unknown. I know who it is, it's Alan, but why is it saying this? The reason why is because his digital ID is not saved under my trusted identities. Let's get into that right now. So we can go to our tools dropdown, signature, and we can look at trusted identities. Right now, I only have myself as a trusted identity. I can basically click on the plus button and I can find somebody's certificate file. It's a .cer file. You can see the extension right here. And I can bring it in. If I scroll down, you can see that this is my .cer file. I've already exported it. Let's go and export it right now, and I'll show you guys how it works. It's quite an interesting file. So let's click out of this, and let's go to Tools, Signature, and Digital IDs. Here you can see that I have my digital ID. It actually has a location that Bluebeam automatically saves it to. So when you first make it, you can actually find it under app data, roaming, et cetera, et cetera. And right now it says that I've logged in with it. That's nice. I don't have to log in again because I just recently logged in. Now I can click on it and I can click on export right here. When I do this, now I can place my file anywhere. I've already done this before, so I'm not going to do it again, but here it is. And then you can just click on save. And it basically makes this brand new small file that you can then attach to your PDFs and send them to your clients. By the way, you can add digital IDs here as well if you wanted to, but the thing is that when you do so, you'll basically have to create a new one. So that's why trusted identities is used for other people's digital IDs. But when you click on add, it's basically a new digital ID that you can make yourself if you want. Then we can look at the properties of a digital ID. I'll show them to you guys right now. Why not? It doesn't have any proprietary information. People can actually double click on your digital ID and they can see this information, but it's not going to be passwords or anything crazy. So even the serial number and stuff like this, you can't really hack into my digital ID or figure anything out from this. But it does show you that this is a digital ID. Even though it says the root certificate is not trusted, that's just because I made it with Bluebeam and I didn't make it with a third-party software. Don't worry, it's definitely trusted. It always depends on who you're working with. And you might want to click on Install Certificate to actually allow it to be trusted. So I can click on that. It's going to be the certificate import wizard through Windows. We're not going to get into that right now, but basically you can go through this dialog and you can go to town. All right, so this is my digital ID. If I needed to, by the way, I could delete it. And then I can also refresh the list just to make sure that I've got everything I need. Let's click on OK. So the digital ID is there in my PC. Now I need to send it to somebody. But there is a bit of an issue with sending digital IDs. If you try to attach a digital ID file, this file, to an email, the recipient won't be able to even download it from the email. It's actually going to be locked. It will basically be an attachment, but they can't even download it. And so that's why digital IDs are pretty secure. So what do you need to do? You need to actually attach it to your file itself. And that way, when people receive your stuff, they can make sure that they can validate your signature. So what do you need to do? Let's close actually out of this side panel so we can see it better. All we need to do is use the file attachment tool. So we go to the tools dropdown and file attachment. You can also press F on your keyboard. And now it's going to ask you what file do you want to attach. For now, I'm just going to attach one of the files that I've used before. Let's actually attach, let's see, one of our course outlines, just as an example. Let's go to Review Essentials, and here is our Essentials syllabus. Why not? So now my cursor is ready to place the file somewhere. So I'm going to place it, let's see, right on top of my signature, right? Actually, I'll just put it right here. Awesome. Now I have this paperclip icon. You'll notice that it's getting smaller as I zoom in and slightly bigger as I zoom out up to a certain point. So we need to modify this because it kind of looks silly and sometimes it's really hard to tell where it is because it keeps resizing itself. All we have to do is click on our properties, the little gear wheel. I have mine right here in the upper right. Now I still have this selected. You can see that it has some dots around it. It's quite hard to tell because the icon is not really maintaining its size. And here we have file attachment properties. We can change what icon we use for it. So it could be a tag, could be an attachment, could be a paperclip like it was by default, a graph, which also resizes itself, and my favorite, a file icon. These file icons do not resize, they maintain their size. They're pretty visible once you zoom in far enough. And so now it's showing me that this is a PDF. Now I have to attach the same file to this pin right here. So you can click on it and you can see the file contents. So I've clicked on this one now, and you can see that it says the size is 926 kilobytes. Let me click on this one. 928. I must have made some changes to the syllabus. Interesting. So now all I need to do is click on the icon and I can click on extract. Now we have some options. We can just open the file and we can just look at it quickly and save it afterwards. We can save as without opening, or we can cancel. Let's just open it and see what happens. We've immediately opened the file. Let me zoom out with one full page mode. And now we can see the syllabus. So I've basically put a file within another file. And so it's on top of the sheet and I can access it whenever I need to just by extracting the contents. Let's extract this one. It's going to be the exact same thing, I hope. And there it is. There's our essential syllabus again. And so this is how we can basically place files within each other. Now, what happens if I try to click on my certificate? It's only a kilobyte in size. It's not that big. If we extract that, it's still going to ask us to open it. But if we try to open it like this, it's just going to show the same information that we saw that tells us about the certificate. And so don't worry, people that try to open it this way, they still can't see your passwords. They're not going to be able to forge your signature in any way, I promise. But now I've placed this on my page. So this is already here. I use the same way that I put the PDF one on here. I don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to delete it. Now that it's on the page, what people can do is they can extract the content. So they can do extract, save as. They can save your digital ID on their PC. So mine's right here. And then all they need to do is go to Tools, Signature, Trusted Identities, and they can click on the plus sign. They can find your certificate. Let's look for it again. There it is. And then once they click on Open, they're going to appear on the list. And that way you can have a list of people that have sent you files previously. And that way they don't need to send this file every time they send you information. But the first time they send you a document, they need to attach this. And now that it's attached, we can basically validate our signatures. And we can make sure that everything works correctly. So if we go back to one of our signed files, let's go to this one. The one that Alan sent me won't work because I don't have this digital ID certificate. It's on the PC that you created it at. So he would have to actually send that to me attached to his floor plan signed, and that's that. But if we open this one, let's click on yes. Now we can see that because my digital ID resides on this PC and it's in my list of trusted identities, everything is working great. And that's basically how digital IDs work. All right, very good. Let's see what else we can look at. Let me go back to our webinar overview. So we've looked at signatures. I'll show you guys a bit more about form mode in a second. We'll go back to stamps and I'll show you a few more stamps and how we can modify stamps a little bit. When it comes to signing and certifying, I believe that we are good to go. We've looked at permissions and validating. Digital IDs, yep, we know everything about them now. So let's go and look at signatures in form mode first. So we've already looked at form mode and how it works. Basically, once again, we can turn on form mode in a number of ways. We can try to sign a document and you can see that I've clicked on sign document and my signature has turned dark blue. You can also try to add more signature fields and the same thing occurs. We're still in form mode. If you have Review Extreme, you can go to the Tools dropdown, Form, and you have all of these options. You can create text boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, all these different things. And when you click on any of them, you're also activating form mode. Let me show you actually. I pressed escape a few times to get out of form mode. And now let's go back to form, text box, and there we go. I can make a brand new text box. I can then modify it if I need to, move it around. When I'm ready, then I can press escape. And now I can fill in the text box with data. There we go. I can spell sometimes. Now, it might be weird as to how do we change the font and the size of this stuff? Because right now we have properties open and I'm filling it in, but I can't make any changes. So back in form mode. So I'm going to just click on sign document right here. I'm going to click on my text box. Oh, actually, let's pretend to make another text box. It'll be easier that way. There we go. Now I can select this text box. And in properties, we have form field properties. So we can change the actual form field name. So we can actually go to forms and modify all of this. So if we go to forms, we have one signature. If I click on it in forms, it highlights the signature. And we have text one. So if we modify the name of text one, either in properties or you can right click on it here and click on rename, we can call it text field test. There we go. And I'm going to press enter and it is ready to go. Then we can make the field visible or not visible. We can also allow it to be visible, but it doesn't print if we wanted to. We can also allow it to be hidden, but it still prints. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use form fields. Then we can change its orientation, so I can actually rotate the text within the field itself. So we can actually make it upside down if we needed to. So that's quite useful for some purposes. We can modify the color of the text itself if we need to, and the fill color, all similar properties that we've seen with text fields and text boxes. And we can change its font. So here we go. Now I can finally change its font. Times New Roman is my favorite font, and let's make its size 20. Looks pretty good. That's much more readable. Very nice. And we can keep scrolling down. We can make it bold or italics. Underline is not allowed for text fields, so quite interesting. And we can click on layout. Do you see how the arrow is pointing to the right? If we click on that, we can make sure that we're not missing any hidden information. I must have collapsed it accidentally. So if you ever see any of these options like that, you can make sure that you click on them like this. I'll actually leave layout like that. Let's look under options. We can change its alignment, the default value within it. So when we make new text boxes, we can have a value already pre-populated. That's quite cool. We can make it multi-line. Right now it's only single line. So if I press enter, it's not going to go to the next line. And we can change all these very interesting options. We can even limit the amount of characters that are allowed to be placed in the text field if we want it to be a certain size, or if we want people to make sure that we don't type too much in the text box. Because if you type too much and it goes through the text box, it's just going to make your font smaller. So quite interesting how that works. All right, or your font size, excuse me. Then we can go to format. If we go to category, we can change how this text field works. So we can change it to number, we can go to percentage, there's all different kinds of options. If we do number, for example, you can see that we can actually change the amount of decimal places that are there. It actually deleted my text because it has to be a number only. We can use different kinds of currency symbols from all over the world if we needed to. And we can use all these different symbol locations. We can modify it many different ways. Under actions, we can actually add specific actions to it. So if I click on this, this is very similar to hyperlinking. So now we can make this text field jump to certain parts of our page or to different pages. We can make it go to an image, for example, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not going to do that right now. Let's click on this again. And at the bottom, the last one is calculate. How cool is that? We can actually calculate multiple different text fields and automatically have another text field update its sum. So if we gave this a number and we had another text field have another number, they will add together. So for example, right now, value is not calculated, but it could be a calculation. It could be just a field notation. It could be a custom calculation field. Let's do calculation field. We can make it a sum. It can be a product, all different kinds of options for multiplication, addition, subtraction, etc. And then we can select the specific fields that are going to be associated. So if I wanted to, I can then click select and I can find any of the fields that I've made in my forms panel on the left side and just choose them, and then we're good to go. And that's how these text fields are not just fields that people can fill in, they can really have a lot of data that automatically fills in for you as well. So they're quite sophisticated. All right, this field one more time. We're going to get rid of it. And I believe the last thing on our list is stamps and seals. Let's go look at them right now. So we already went and saw where the stamps are. We can go to the tools dropdown and stamp. We have all of these different stamps, and you'll notice that every time I mouse over a stamp, there's a little pen icon next to them. So if I wanted to, I can edit them even further. So I can click on the edit button next to my seal right here. And now I can actually start to input some data into my seal. I've actually made these text fields for it. So now I can have the data already pre-populated. So I can put my name, for example, Ari Retman. I can basically say what company I'm with, so Digital Drafting Systems. The date actually has this formula here, this and brackets date. That's basically how that works. I can modify the seal itself by using these scripts if I needed to. And when I'm ready, I can save my seal. You can actually see that there's a little seal icon next to my seal name right here. So this is a seal itself. It's not a PDF. So when I'm ready, I'm going to click on save. Everything looks good to go. I actually think I want to center my text. So I'm going to go into form mode and modify it. You can see that in forms, we have the text right here. And let's scroll all the way up in properties and let's make sure that it's all centered. So let me see, where is alignment? I believe it's under layout. I thought I knew where it was. Oh yes, right here. So let's go to center, click on this one and center. Beautiful. Now we're going to save it one more time. We can close out of it and now we can use it. So let's do so. Tools, stamp, here's my seal. And when I place this seal, it has all my information already pre-populated, but you'll notice that I can't change it. Basically, those text fields were only editable in the stamp itself. So if you want to modify your stamp to have all that info, do so, but know that you can't change it afterwards. Of course, you can modify the stamp itself, but you can't do it on your sheet, is what I mean to say. So I can always go back and edit it, but right now, basically the stamp is as it is. And luckily, it did take the current date. I didn't save the last time I made that change, so actually let me delete this one and replace it with this one. There we go. And that is how you can use stamps. Now, remember, stamps are not the same as seals. If you really want to sign and seal something, you'll want to actually sign a document and then go to edit. Make sure that you use a special file as your seal, and then you can use that file instead of your name. So make sure that you choose between name and file, and you can take a stamp or an image and you can use that as your seal. And that way your seal will actually have the certification backing it up in the background. All right, I think we've gone over pretty much everything. This is a bit of a shorter webinar, so I believe it is time for questions. Let's see, does anybody have any questions?
Let me see. Thank you so much, Ari, for your presentation. It was great as usual. Yeah, this content is really interesting, heavy, and short. Okay, so let me see. Questions, guys. This is the time to do your questions. Yeah, we have some. Okay, so please show the procedure to sign multiple sheets in one PDF file. Explain the need to have a third-party certification. Well, that's another one.
Sure, so we'll do the multiple signatures
The
first.
yeah, sign multiple sheets in one PDF file.
No problem. All right, so all we need to do is we need to make our signature fields first. So it's very important that the signature fields are created first before anybody signs and certifies. If you sign and certify first, you will not be able to make more signature fields. So I have one signature field. Let's make two more. So we're going to go to signature. We're going to add a signature field. I'm going to have one above mine, and then we'll make another one all the way on the right side of the sheet, right here. So now our signature fields are ready. We're ready for two more people to sign after I sign. So now that the signature fields are made, I can press escape a couple of times. I'm going to sign the first one on the bottom left, so I'm going to click on it right here. Then I just need to log in. Let's do so right now. And everything is ready. Document certification is on. Fill in forms and digital signatures is on. Let's make sure that that's always on whenever you do this, because if you don't allow anybody to make changes, then they cannot sign. So that is correct. We're going to say OK. We're going to do underscore testing and click on save. This file is now ready for other people to sign. So let's pretend that I'm somebody else. Oh yeah, let's validate my signature first. There we go. This is looking good. Now we can click on the signature field. I can add another signature. I've already logged in with my account, so I can just do it again. And we're going to call this underscore added 1. And there it is, the second signature is in. And let's pretend that I give it to a third person. Now, on that third person, I'm going to click OK, and we'll call this one added 2. And there we go. So this is how you can add as many signature fields as you want beforehand. And then you can see in the signatures panel that there's all of these signatures. So there's a lot of people that have files with multiple pages. And when you do this, you can put a signature on each page if each page needs to be signed. You'll certify your first page and sign it. And then every subsequent page will have a signature on it. And also, if you guys are interested in doing this for many pages, hundreds of pages very quickly, you can get Revu Extreme and you can go to batch and you can go sign and seal. And you can sign and seal multiple pages by doing so. It's really, really quick and easy. All right, good question.
Awesome. That was another question. Thank you, Ari. If this was available only in Extreme or in Standard. So I think that you answered that.
Well, I kind of did. So you can sign with Revu Standard. You can sign and certify, no problem. You'll have all those tools. You will not have access to all the form tools. So if you go to the tools dropdown in form, you will not be able to automatically create form fields. You won't be able to make text boxes and all of these different options. All you can do is import and export data, and that's basically it. And then you won't have access to the batch tools either. So you can do all of this. It just might take a little bit longer, and you will not be able to make form fields.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next question is, question. All right, so explain the need to have a third-party certification. Why is it needed? Isn't Bluebeam certified as a third-party certification?
All right, good question. So technically, all certification is third-party. That is a good question. However, some municipalities don't allow the program that you modified the PDF in to be used to sign. Instead, companies like IdenTrust and DocuSign provide third-party certification that you'll pay for, and then they'll give you a special digital ID certificate that you can use. And so certain government municipalities will require third-party certification. So in that case, you'll want to basically talk with your municipality, ask them what companies they allow. And if you want to, you can also show them your digital ID in Bluebeam. You can send it to them. You can send them a file. You can attach your digital ID certificate to it and see if they accept it. More than likely they will, but if they don't, then you can always say, okay, well, we need to contact another third-party software. So we can do it through IdenTrust, DocuSign, there's many, many others. The same thing happens with Adobe, for example. In Adobe, you can actually sign and certify as well, but it's basically the same as Bluebeam. Because you're using Adobe to modify the PDF, some municipalities think that that is a liability, a security liability. So it always depends on who you're sending your documents to. All right, do we have any more questions?
Yes, thank you, Ari. Thank you so much for that answer. Okay, there's another brief question which show a new dynamic field. So I'm sure.
Show a new dynamic field. I think I know what you're talking about. All right, interesting question. So a new dynamic field, I think you're meaning a field that will change its data as different information is input. So let's do a quick one. I think we'll add two fields together and we'll have the third field become the sum. So let's pretend that we had some kind of a sheet that had all different kinds of fields that we can fill in for different data. So we're going to say that this one is going to be our first text box. I'm going to make another one immediately after. Perfect. And then we'll make the last one. That'll be our total. So perfect. Now I'm going to press escape a couple of times and I can input my data. Actually, before we input the data, we have to make sure that these are calculated fields. So let's click on the first one. And in properties, we can scroll all the way down and we can make sure that calculate, we say value. This is a calculation field instead of value is not calculated. So we'll do calculation field. This will be a sum and we can select which field it's going to be. It's going to be text 1. Excellent. Now this one, we're going to change that. The value will be calculated. This will be text 2. And this is going to be the summation. So let's see, we will now select this one, text 3. Excellent. So now you can see that there's numbers in all of our fields. So what we need to do is we are going to say, let's press escape a couple of times. We're going to give this a number. So let's say 5, and then we'll put 10 in this one. Now the fields are not associated yet with each other, so this summation hasn't happened yet. So we'll click on text 3 in our forms area, and we basically have to go to our action. So now we're going to say that if we go to form, we can then go to select fields, and we can select certain fields. Oh, this is just for resetting. Excuse me, let's not do that. Actually, it's not here. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm forgetting. I just helped a client with it recently too. I feel so silly. Let's make sure that I'm doing this right. If we go
Those things
here,
happen when you don't use it often.
that is right.
Yeah.
You know what, actually? I believe that the sum is correct for the last one, and then these do not need to be sums. Instead, these are going to be custom calculation fields and custom calculation fields. Interesting. Simple field notation. I'm completely forgetting how to do it. I did it with a client the other day, but I must be missing how to associate these two fields with this one. So I need to follow up with you because I need to do some research. It looks like I don't know everything I know. So I'll follow up with you. If you have your email, then I'll send
Yeah,
you
we
an
have that.
email
We have his
later on today.
information. Yeah, we
Yeah,
certainly have his information, so we'll follow up with him.
yeah,
Very good.
absolutely.
So we
Sorry
will
about that.
follow up with you directly. Thank you. Okay, so if anybody else is interested in the answer, please contact us via email, and then we will also let you know. Okay, so next question is,
Uh-oh, looks like you cut out. Yeah, we can't hear you, Raquel. Something happened. Maybe I can't hear you. Oh, sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. It looks like something is off with Raquel's microphone.
We don't hear you. No, we can hear you. I'm not sure why.
Give us 1 sec, guys. We're going to see if we can fix Raquel's microphone. You can try to unplug it and replug it in, Raquel.
Hi, guys.
There we go.
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. For some reason I lost connection, so I'm gonna work from another computer. Okay, so I'm sorry. The next question was, okay, so the same person that was asking for the multiple signatures in a file, in a document, he said, I meant having 2 sheets in a file, and then each one requires the signature. I think that you answered that.
Yes, it's the same procedure that I showed you. So like I was saying earlier, you don't need to sign the same file over and over again. I'll show you guys in my thumbnails list that I also have multiple sheets. So just to show you that it's possible, let me click escape a couple of times. I'm going to go to my second sheet. I'm going to put a signature field on this one as well. It doesn't really matter whether you do it on the same sheet or on different sheets. It's all the same. So let's go to our signature panel. We're going to add another signature field. We'll put it here on the bottom left. And then we can go to our third sheet. Let's do the same thing. And we'll make one more on the bottom left as well. And so now that we have all our signatures ready, we can sign and certify the first one. And I'll just do that very quickly. Filling forms as digital signatures is on. I have to sign in first, so let's do that. And log in. Now I'm going to click OK. Let's do underscore test 3. Click on save. Good. Now that I have my certification signature ready, I can go to this sheet. Let's wait for it to load. Now I can sign this one with a regular digital signature. Click on OK. We're going to do test 3 underscore page 2. There it is. And then we'll have to do it one more time for this one as well. And every time you make a new signature, it always asks you to rename file, or you can overwrite an existing file if you don't want to have so many files with different signatures on them. So I can leave this one as page 2. It's going to ask me to overwrite. I'll say yes, why not? And there it is. Now I have signature fields here on the bottom left on this one, and on the first one. So yeah, it's the same procedure for multiple sheets.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Ari, for that answer. There's another question. It says just like this: batch sign many pages. So I think you answered that. He probably,
Yep.
everybody had the
Well,
same
I
question.
can show the batch signing. Why not? We'll do that quickly. So let me go
Okay.
back to my original file. Yeah, because batch signing has a different dialog. So
Yeah.
if we go to the batch dropdown and we click on sign and seal, now we can choose what pages we're going to sign and seal. I could do a custom range. Now, usually it's good to do this after you certify. I'll show you why. So I'm just going to do, let's just do all for now, and we're going to click on next. Now the batch dialog is opened. We can now choose whether we want to add digital signatures right here. Now, you cannot do a document certification and a digital signature at the same time through the batch process. That's why you want to sign and certify first through the manual process. And then when you're done, you can then use digital signatures and then make sure that you log in with them. You can modify the appearance just like you did before. If I click on edit, it looks just the same as it was before. And then we can do either manual placement or a signature field. So now I can choose from a list of all the signature fields that I have. So right now I just have this one. If I had multiple fields, I can then go to the dropdown and I can click on each one, put a checkbox next to each one. You can see that it's giving us a preview of how it's going to look down here. And when we're ready, then we click OK. So it's pretty simple. You can also apply seals the same way. You can put dates on your sheet the same way. So you can turn all of this on and start putting these in different spots. But that's basically how the batch tools work.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Again, batch sign and seal is only available on Extreme, while all the other features, like Adi mentioned, is available on Standard and CAD editions, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I have 4 more questions. There's a comment of one of them saying, "Thank you. The webinar has been all the webinars have been very, very informative. Don't worry, we will keep going. We will announce our next ones coming up really soon. But the webinar series in July, this is the last one." I have 4 more questions. Can you apply security permissions to a PDF without signing it?
Yes, I'm glad that you asked. I actually did not show that yet, but it's something I almost overlooked. You can actually apply certification without a signature. It's very simple. All you do is you go to the tools dropdown, you go to signature, and you can click on certify document right here. You'll notice that the dialog is very similar to signing, except that you're not allowed to sign. It's just document certification. You can choose all the different security permissions just like before, and you'll notice that there's no appearance area. So basically, you are certifying in the background instead of signing and certifying in the foreground. So that's basically how it works. It's basically the same process. Once I click OK, you won't even know, but the document is certified. And that's it.
Awesome.
By the way, before we move on to the next one, you can tell that a document is certified by going to Document and clicking on Security. And you'll notice that all of these security permissions will change. Not all of them, but some of them. So for example, changing the document and assembling the document will actually say not allowed. So right now, everything's allowed because I haven't signed this one. But if I quickly go to this document right here, and we go to Document, let's click on that first. Document, Security, the assembling the document and changing the document is restricted, along with adding markups. But filling in form fields and signing digital signature fields is allowed. So this is how you can tell whether a document's been certified or not.
Okay, thank you. Next one is, can you attach a digital ID certificate to an email? I think you mentioned something about that.
I did, yes. So you can attach it to an email. The problem is that the recipient will not be able to download it. It'll literally be locked. Your cursor will show a little red circle with a slash through it, basically saying that you are not allowed to touch this file. So yeah, I don't recommend that you attach it directly to an email. Just attach it to a PDF and then attach that PDF to your email, and that's how you can send both at the same time.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you. Can other people sign a document more than once?
Yes, we went over that. That is, we basically can make all of our signature fields first. One person signs and certifies, and everybody else can sign it. If you want one person to sign each page, which I've seen some clients, they have to sign each and every single page of their documents, then the first one can be a signature and certification, and other subsequent pages can just be regular signatures, and you're good to go.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Do I have to attach my digital ID certificate to each drawing that I send?
So you only need to send it once to each recipient. So let's say that you work with a client and you're going to be working with them on a lot of different files for a long time. The first time that you send them any kind of submittal, you'll want to attach your digital ID certificate, yes. Then after that, you can just send them subsequent PDFs. Make sure that they add you to their trusted identities, that basically they have your digital ID on their PC and in their program. Once your digital ID is in their program, then you can just continuously send them PDFs that you sign and seal. They'll be able to click on validate signature and they'll have all the information they need to make sure that your signature is valid and correct.
All right. I think that's all, those are the questions. Thank you, Ari. Thank you so much. So we're going to move to the last informative section. Thank you for the great presentation, Ari. Thank you guys for all your questions. They have been very interesting. We want to again say that this is the last presentation of the week 4 presentation of Tuesdays with DDS CAD. But don't worry, we're going to have more coming up soon. Our blog is live as usual. You can check there. This is the link. We have a lot of presentations there, very interesting with different content. A Bluebeam review training is available, like I mentioned at the beginning. So you can check, you can click on our website. You can go at ddscat.com and go to events for upcoming webinars. You can also check information about training there or contact us. Now, we are very, very excited to inform that the next version of Bluebeam Review is coming up, guys. It's going to be called Review 20, not 2020, Review 20. And it's going to be released really, really soon, probably end of August, but we have to see. We don't know exactly the date. We will send you an email with more details very soon. And if you have an old version and you don't have maintenance on it, you will not get it. So the way to get it is if you recently got Bluebeam, very recently, less than a year, and you don't have maintenance, you can add maintenance to it and you will get the version 2020. But if you don't have it, then you could upgrade. Version Review 20 is going to be an easy and secure way to communicate and collaborate with your project partners to maximize project efficiency. And then you're going to be able to minimize risk with improved user and content management capabilities. It will also have new enhancements to the already powerful markup tools. So stay tuned and we will have a lot of things to talk about really soon. Again, thank you so much for attending. Everybody, have a great afternoon. Thank you, Artie. Great presentation.
Thanks, Raquel. Take care, everybody.